Greetings, fellow Americans. Welcome to Fireside Chats, State of Our Nation. I am your host, Susanna Tanner, candidate for House of Representatives 2026 and President 2028. I hope you're ready for the National Housing Construction Project. This week, I'm going to go over a couple of different things. First, the main points of it, and then over the next few weeks, I will be detailing how it works. So, this project is the culmination of experience, education, and dedication to the people of the United States. My experiences during times of homelessness helped to educate me and understand what needs to happen in order to make things work to support the people. Experience is something that many of our elected officials oftentimes turn a blind eye to and lack. And they also implement legislation that hurts the homeless public instead of helping it. The National Housing Construction Project is the first step in ending homelessness, not only in our beloved Vancouver, but in our state, and especially in major metropolitan areas like Seattle and Washington, D.C., Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles. Big areas, huge populations, definitely a lot of homeless people. It's this plan is combined with practicality, responsibility, and reasonability. It is important to consider these three bases for any programs that we create. So, can we practically implement the project? Is it reasonable to believe that it will work as intended? Have we defined the responsibilities of the project and of the people who implement it? These are all important questions to consider, especially when proposing a plan such as this one. That being said, many of us have observed that trickle effects do not work from the middle up or down, and they don't work from the top down. When implemented, we have observed the lack of necessary trickle effect for prosperity for the middle class or the middle and lower incomes. So to lift our nation up, we have to start from the bottom. The trickle effect from the bottom reinforces both of the higher wealth classes. That is the reason I put it this way is because we've seen through bailouts like to banks and to major corporations that those don't trickle down into the economy. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us who are listening to this right now can really remember a time when we saw this happen and it didn't happen the way they wanted it to, or the way that they thought it would. It just left the lower income brackets hurting, honestly. So it's important that we acknowledge a lot of this so that we can understand why the plan's put together the way it is. Now, there are three guarantees: accountability, expiry, and stability. The National Housing Construction Project is a debt-free, self-terminating intervention model designed to address chronic homelessness with the financial discipline of a private trust and the compassion of a supportive service provider. Our pilot chapter here in Vancouver, PHN, that's People's Housing Network, Vancouver, Washington, is built upon three non-negotiable legal and financial guarantees for the voter and the investor. So the first guarantee is the sunset clause. It is the most important. It's a solution with a deadline. We are not building a permanent bureaucracy. We are providing a temporary solution. The promise, the local funding mechanism, the local housing investment tax is legally bound by a 5-star sunset clause, meaning that 5 criteria have to be met for the sunset to take place, for the tax to basically cancel out. The tax automatically ceases collection in the year following the determination that the mission is complete. Now, we're working towards a 5 to 6 year limit here. So there is a clause in here that the tax can go for a maximum of 6 years at one time. But there are provisions for re-implementing the tax, and we'll go over that at a later time. The metric. The tax collection stops after an independent audit confirms the homeless population is reduced to less than 0.25% of the population, and over 50% of the acquired assets are sold back to the private market. And this is called asset recycling. Assets meaning properties, basically. There is accountability as well. The compliance and audit officer is legally mandated to enforce the stop button on the tax, ensuring the program cannot outlive its purpose. Now that's the first guarantee. The second guarantee is 100% ring-fenced integrity. Basically, all the funds are financially protected. Every dollar is legally restricted to the housing mission and cannot be misspent or diverted. So financial shielding. Financial shielding. All assets are held by the PHN National Mission Trust and are 100% debt-free. We use cash-only acquisition, protecting assets from creditors and foreclosure. Now that means basically we're not utilizing loans at all. Loans keep us in debt. We don't want debt. We want to be able to charge the percentage for rent of someone's income that we are going to charge. So it's important for us to make sure that we have sole, what do I want to say? It's important for us to make sure that we have sole control over that particular property legally. No diversion. Okay. The LHI tax revenue is legally ring-fenced into a dedicated PHN housing trust fund. The local city council is legally barred from diverting these funds to the general fund or other unrelated projects. This way, the government cannot touch any of the tax dollars that we put into this. The transparency part of this promise. Expenditures are subject to annual independent third-party audit, ensuring public accountability. So everything has to be accounted for. The program has to be rolling the way that we need it to roll. And it's important for us to understand we have to make it roll that way. And there's a lot of ways that we can implement the progress as quickly as we need it to happen. The guarantee, the third promise, zero tolerance for chaos. We are replacing encampment disorder with managed, professional, supportive communities. The firm accountability. Residents sign a supportive contract governed by a 3-strike termination of housing agreement policy. We mandate monthly unit inspections and visible cleanliness standards. Now, professional security. Our properties are protected by community safety specialists who are veterans and retired first responders, highly trained in trauma-informed de-escalation. There's a lot of different details for that particular aspect of this program, and I'll definitely be going over the CSS community safety specialists at a different time. Now, the legacy. Upon mission completion, the operational expertise and personnel transition into the permanent, self-sustaining neighborhood guardianship program, ensuring long-term community safety. The NHCP is the only proposal that offers voters a guaranteed exit from both the homelessness crisis and the tax funding support efforts. The last part about this is the project life cycle. I want to go over how the cycle works so that more people can understand how this can be implemented without hurting the local economy, our economy here in Vancouver, and even when expanded, how it does not hurt the economy of other regions. The project life cycle is 3 phases. The National Housing Construction Project is designed as a phased intervention, ensuring the actions start immediately, while scaling is funded by a temporary voter-approved mechanism that leads to permanent, self-sustaining stability. A lot of people think that it's not possible to do that, but I'm actually going to show you how it's done. That's part of why I want to go over this stuff with you. I want to show you how we can implement stuff like this and how it can be created in such a way that it fully supports our communities and is circular and all funds are accounted for. Accountability. This plan is the first step. It's one of the first steps. Phase 1 is emergency mobilization and seed capital. This is the first 6 months of this program. The initial phase is focused on immediate stabilization and proof of concept, relying on seed funding and community support. The funding source, corporate investments, private philanthropy, and initial public donations. So this is an all-in type of scenario. Operational focus, rapid establishment of the first local chapter board here in Vancouver, securing the necessary FBU certification. FBU is Flexible Building Unit. The goal, to immediately design areas for safe homeless communities, encampment stabilization zones, and deploy the first modular units, demonstrating the zero tolerance for chaos operation model. And there's going to be a lot more detail to that. I'll explain later on how it works, how those things are going to be implemented. Then there's the political objective, and that is establish public trust and demonstrate project integrity prior to the LHI tax vote. So this initial phase, this is the test run. Phase 2, stabilization and tax-funded acquisition. And this is basically from year 1, after the first 6 months, to year 5 or 6, depending on the size of the population of the area of homeless people or homeless persons, and how quickly things can get rolling in those areas. But there's definitely plans for that. Now, the funding source is a 0.5% temporary LHI tax on any. Now, this has to be voted on by the people. It's a temporary tax on a temporary increase in taxes on an existing revenue stream. So if in our area an existing revenue stream is sales tax, it would be a temporary 0.5% increase. It's something that would not be felt dynamically in the city region, but it would bring in enough funding for doing what we need to do with this project to get our people off the street and hopefully get a lot of them some help. The operational focus is aggressive property acquisition, construction of a 200-unit portfolio at least, and full staffing of all properties with trained CSS and case managers, property monitors as well. And all of this will be explained. And I also wanted to make sure that I mentioned funneling with the LHI tax. All of that goes, 100% of that goes into the PHN Housing Trust Fund. So it's directly for this area. For this one, for the startup chapter, it is directly for this area. It's what starts funding the national project. Now, the goal to reduce the local homelessness rate in Vancouver, Washington from 0.75%, which is what it's at right now, to below the target threshold of 0.25% of the population. We're going for near zero homelessness here. So we have to make it as low as possible. Now, I've done some calculations, and there is roughly around 1,500 people that are homeless here in Vancouver. And that is currently around 0.75% of the population. Now, what we've seen in areas that are large, the more population there is, the more likely there are going to be homelessness issues, persons who are without housing. So part of the issue is the expensive housing. This particular project actually takes care of some of that. And I will be going over a lot of that stuff later. Now, the tax duration is a maximum of 6 years, triggered automatically by the sunset clause upon achieving the 200-unit acquisition goal or reaching the 6-year mark. So regardless of whether or not the unit goal is met, it's going to set. The tax will basically disappear. Now, phase 3 is after the tax sunsets. This is the permanent self-sustaining model. The phase is the third phase, is the project's permanent state, achieved when the need for the temporary tax is eliminated. Funding source, self-sustaining revenue, derived from 30% of resident rent contributions. So residents would be paying for this housing 30% of their income. Income generated by the PHN Housing Trust, and ongoing corporate giant donations. So if we've got people still donating, it's going to help fund all of it. And the LHI tax is fully expired at this time. The operational focus is ongoing property maintenance, sustained case management and safety operations, and utilizing property equity for perpetual expansion. The goal is to maintain the homelessness rate to below the 0.25, if we can manage it, threshold, while fostering a robust local economy fueled by housed, supported, and contributing citizens. The project continues to support local agencies with surplus funds. And there is a circle of support with this as well. The project transitions from an emergency measure to a permanent localized economic stabilizer. And I will definitely be explaining some more of that in future episodes. So as I said, in the next few weeks, I'm going to be detailing this plan and how it works. If I tried doing it all at once, we would be here for a few hours. That is not a lie. And that's reading through the whole thing. There is at least one new program that will help many different people with different types of transitions. May the prospect of near zero homelessness appeal to our nation. Thank you for your time, and may our path lead to peace and prosperity.